What would you say for maybe people who are listening to the podcast who are struggling in their faith, or people who are listening to the podcast who love people who are maybe not even struggling with their faith because they've just set aside their faith, right? What would you say that the Jubilee year might be an occasion for? I don't know. What would you say to them?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that, the Jubilee year is the perfect time to, come back to God and to come back to the church. And, kind of the motif parable of the whole Jubilee year is the, parable of the prodigal son. Um, and we all know the story. Jesus tells a story about this young teenager who treats his dad like crap and wants his inheritance ahead of time, which is basically telling his dad, "You're as good as dead," and then goes out to a far country and squanders all his money on riotous living, and that suggests drunkenness and prostitutes and so on, until he's reduced to absolute poverty, and then realizes, I had it better with my father. So that's a message that Jesus is directing towards us in Jubilee year 2025. His message, the Lord's message to us in this year, to all of us, whether we're in the church, whether we're kind of not practicing well, or whether we've left it all together and even are claiming to be atheists. And there's actually very few real atheists in the world. Most people just have a grudge or an issue with God, and and use some rationalization for it. But wherever we're at in our relationship with the loving God, the Creator God, this Jubilee year is saying, no, you can't do anything so bad that I will not take you back. And remember, Jesus, he was so morally upright himself. He's the one who told this parable. He knew rebellious teenagers. He knew people like this that just squandered all their money
Yeah.
on wine and women and stupidity. Our Lord was not unfamiliar with this kind of behavior. He knew it well, and he knew lots of people that did that kind of thing with their lives. Sometimes we do that with our lives, and we think, "Oh, I'm beyond. I can't be fixed. I can't be reconciled." Jesus is like, "No, nothing that you do surprises me." Okay, and and there's always a road back. Not only is there a road back, but I'm waiting for you. I am, as it were, sitting at the edge of the property, looking down the road, waiting to see you come. So that's for all of us. And so I'm trying to live that out. I am not free from sin by any means. I estrange
Yeah.
myself from God in various ways. I'm trying to live confession well. I'm trying to live indulgences on a daily basis, try to gain a plenary indulgence every day during this Jubilee, for my own sake and for those of the faithful departed. And I would say, if you're an atheist and you're listening to this, I would say, look, uh, get dispense with the rationalizations. Okay, you probably know deep down that this world could not come about without a creator. You can see the design, you can see the evidence of God's brilliance in the animals and the beauty that's been made. That's testifying your heart. Throw aside the rationalizations. God wants what's best for you. He created you to realize the very best that you can be. He created you for a situation of love, to love Him, to love others, and enter into deep, rich, satisfying relationships with other persons, both human persons, divine persons, even angelic persons. That's what He wishes for you. So just dispense with that. Forget about that. The doors of heaven and the doors of the church are wide open in 2025. Just come and put that all aside, and come and be reconciled, and enjoy the beauty of a relationship with a God who created you, and now calls you back, and redeems you, and wants to love you again.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Thank you for summarizing just that great gift of the gospel. That great gift. I love sometimes Thomas Aquinas, right before he says his famous 5 ways for, or 5 proofs for the existence of God. He begins by saying, "Yep, all human beings have a vague sense of God, right? You don't need to be a great philosopher or a great scholar to have a great argument. We just need to follow that to its proper conclusion. And the problem is, on our own, we just don't. And if we do think about it, we often think badly about God because we think of God in our own image, and we really don't forgive people. And so we wouldn't forgive somebody who lived the way we have. And so that deep sense that Father John Riccardo, who's been on the podcast one time, just says, Jesus's message is, you've got the Father all wrong. And I really think the Jubilee year is that idea, is that we fall into a God, as you put it, who doesn't really like us, who wants to make us work for him, who wants to, just a world who's indifferent to us. And instead, the whole message from Abraham forward, right, is that, right, I care about you, right? I love you, and I'm willing to do anything, even put up with your idiocy to bring you home to me. And so thankfully Jesus does that. And as long as we admit our idiocy and admit we are as dumb as sheep, and of which I certainly am, right, then we can follow the Good Shepherd home, which is also in Ezekiel 34, right? I myself will have to shepherd them because all the human shepherds failed. And I love the idea that the kings of Israel failed specifically to implement the Jubilee year, right? They didn't use their power and authority to forgive sins or to make a more equitable society. Instead, they just aggrandized themselves like other kings.
Right. Yeah. So Jesus comes as a king, truly a king. His kingdom is in the world, though not of the world. And
Yeah.
and he does what no son of David had done previously, which is implement the Jubilee and
Yeah.
use his royal power for freedom.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the like button and subscribe to the Catholic Theology Show. Thanks, and God bless.